viewers of Equinoxe Television, 6 p.m. by 6 o'clock. It's time for the news. We thank you so much for joining us. Our major stories tonight: insecurity in the Twingi-speaking regions of Cameroon. In the Northwest region, the senior divisional officer for the Ngo-Ketunjia division says the ban on commercial bikes and other activities by elites as a means to reduce the rise of insecurity in the area is not helping the situation at all. Ketong Anderson thinks more concrete measures and not cosmetic or temporary others which are not in any way beneficial to the villagers is what will bring the much desired peace to the warring northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon. And also in this discussed, a huge quantity of consignment of fake milk which can cause great danger to the health has been seized in Douala by security forces. It's the last month of the year, which also is considered as the month everything is done in a rush. Thus, commuters in Douala, just like those in other parts of the country, must be vigilant. Viewers, those are our major stories. Details when we come back. Welcome back, viewers. Thank you so much for the confidence. We begin with the crisis in the Northwest and Southwest regions. In the Northwest region, the senior divisional officer for the Ngo-Ketunjia division decries the systematic boycott of administrative meetings and activities by elites and other community leaders in his area of command. In a release, he said this attitude is not helping the peace process in that area. That is Ketong Anderson, who is the senior divisional officer for the Ngo-Ketunjia. Babila Jonathan tells us more.
Socio-political, economic and security instability still prevailing across the Ngo-Ketunjia division and the rest of Anglophone Cameroon. Administrative and security efforts are yet to yield the desired fruits of complete return to normalcy. In the Ngo-Ketunjia division, the senior division officer is concerned about what he describes as a lukewarm attitude of those he refers to as torchbearers and other stakeholders, including elite.
People cannot go and sit elsewhere, abandon this community and say they are promoting their own development when they themselves cannot even pass, cannot even come to carry out the said development.
The senior administrator Henderson Ketong Kongi argues that the elite and other stakeholders who have been away from the division for a long time cannot have a proper and accurate understanding of the plight of the people from a distance.
The enslavement, the oppression, and all the suffering of the masses of a community is on the spot and not elsewhere.
Some of the elite who spoke to us advanced security reasons for staying away, and others will not make any comment on the issue for the same reasons. But the SDO says staying away is not the solution.
If there is insecurity, then there can be no development. We must create an enabling environment for development to go on. We are calling on all our elites, all our torchbearers, wherever they find themselves, to give a priority to development, to give a priority to peace.
The Ngo-Ketunjia division is one of the areas badly affected by the close to 7-year-long armed conflict in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon.
Meanwhile, the 2024 state budget of Cameroon has been fixed at 6,679 billion 500 million francs CFA. The different ministerial departments began defending their budget allocation on Friday, that was last week, with the Ministry of Secondary Education having the lion's share of the state budget. For me, Armstrong Sanda with the details.
Finance and Budget Committee of the National Assembly started examining the budget allocation of the different ministerial departments on Friday, December the 1st, 2023. Among the ministries that queued up to defend their draft budget was the Ministry of Secondary Education, which has the greatest share of the 2024 state budget. The head of this ministerial department, Minister Nalova Lyonga, defended a budget of 539 billion 242 million francs CFA. The Ministry of the Economy, Planning and Regional Development, 69 billion 5 million francs CFA. The Ministry of Public Service and Administrative Reforms, 15 billion 93 million francs CFA. The Ministry of Decentralization and Local Development, 100 billion 52 million francs CFA. The Ministry of Basic Education, 289 billion 643 million francs CFA. The Ministry of Labour and Social Security, 7 billion 289 million francs CFA. The Ministry of Employment and Vocational Training, 28 billion 420 million francs CFA. Friday was the turn of other ministries, notably the Ministry of Public Health, with a draft budget allocation of 255 billion 281 million francs CFA. The Ministry of Tourism and Leisure, 8 billion 515 million francs CFA. The Ministry of Justice, 69 billion 308 million francs CFA. The Ministry of External Relations, 41 billion 575 million francs CFA. The Ministry of Defense, 324 billion 338 million francs CFA. The Ministry of Higher Education, 80 billion 85 million francs CFA. The Ministry of Trade, 9 billion 2 million francs CFA. The Ministry of Public Works, 348 billion 519 million francs CFA. The Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, 113 billion 101 million francs CFA. The Ministry of Livestock, Fisheries and Animal Industries, 38 billion 50 million francs CFA.
In the same line, the budget allocation defense entered week 2 as the last set of ministries defended their packages that was on Monday, December 4, 2023. Among them were the Ministries of Mines, Industries and Technological Development and the Ministries of Territorial Administration and also Urban Development. Once again, for me, I'm Strong Sanda with the details.
9 other ministries successfully defended their budget on Sunday, December the 3rd, 2023. They include the Ministry of Mines, Industries and Technological Development, 8 billion 497 million francs CFA. The Ministry of the Environment, Nature Protection and Sustainable Development, 8 billion 491 million francs CFA. The Ministry of Small and Medium-Sized Enterprises, the Social Economy and Handicraft, 69 billion 308 million francs CFA. The Ministry of Transport, 97 billion 444 million francs CFA. The Ministry of Social Affairs, 20 billion 914 million francs CFA. The Ministry of State Properties and Land Tenure, 80 billion 85 million francs CFA. The Ministry of Youth Affairs and Civic Education, 27 billion 86 million francs CFA. The Ministry of Post and Telecommunications, 15 billion 86 million francs CFA. The last set of ministries filed past the Finance and Budget Committee of the National Assembly on Monday, December the 4th, 2023. Among them were the Ministry of Housing and Urban Development, 148 billion 498 million francs CFA. The Ministry of Scientific Research and Innovation, 14 billion 871 million francs CFA. The Ministry of Women's Affairs and the Family, 9 billion 563 million francs CFA. The Ministry of Sport and Physical Education, 24 billion 799 million francs CFA. The Ministry of Communication, 5 billion 841 million francs CFA. The Ministry of Public Contracts, 14 billion 773 million francs CFA. The Ministry of Arts and Culture, 6 billion 358 million francs CFA. The Ministry of Territorial Administration, 40 billion 634 million francs CFA. Finally, the Ministry of Forestry and Wildlife, 3 billion 552 million francs CFA. It should be recalled that the 2024 state budget of the Republic of Cameroon stands at some 6,679 billion 500 million francs CFA.
Thank you for me, I'm Strong Sanda, for those precisions. And now, viewers, we told you in the headlines that it's the month of December, it's the end of the year, and commuters must be very vigilant. Several cartons of fake milk, which could be very dangerous to the health, have been seized by elements of the company Gendarmerie Brigade of the Douala Airport. The seizure was done during a raid that took place in some markets in the Douala 2 subdivision. Smart Njikan Gabriel with the details.
A surprise raid organized by the elements of the company Gendarmerie Brigade of the Douala Airport at some markets in Douala Littoral region. The elements of the company Gendarmerie Brigade visited the Monkam, Mbopi and Central markets respectively to make away with some contraband milk which has been on sale in these markets. During the raid, many people involved in the illegal sale of the milk were arrested. The product is sold at Mbopi. It is from there that we buy them. When you arrive there, they are exposed on the ground. I didn't know that I will get into problems selling it because I have been in the business for a while now without any trouble. According to the elements of the forces of law and order, the milk in question was brought into the country illegally from sister nation, and more to that, it was again adulterated and sold to the innocent consumers. Apart from the arrests of the people who sell the milk, several cartons of this milk were also seized by the elements of the company Gendarmerie Brigade of the Douala Airport. Investigations are still ongoing to get more dealers.
Now we talk something else. For several days now, citizens in 6 regions of Cameroon have been adversely affected by the rational electricity energy supply strategy of the electricity distribution company Nous regarding the enormous consequences this has had on the local population, especially business persons. Our reporter Innocent Azaz sought to understand reasons for this electricity rationing from an expert in electrical engineering.
Energy rationing in the center, south, littoral, west, northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon, according to electric utility Nous, has been provoked by complete shutdown of the Zibamba and Limbe power plants.
The very cause of this is the cost of gas, because our government don't give Nous the special price. We don't have very important quantity of water. I don't know if the dam of Lompanga going to do his job, management of water this period of dry season.
He, however, proposes a temporary solution.
I think that the better solution for 3 or 2 months is going to be to put Nachigal Dam in operation, because Nachigal Dam is 422 megawatts, 2 or 3 times Dibamba and Limbe production. When we put Nachigal Dam in service, I think that we're going to have more energy.
Serge Henry Kerbe believes there won't have been energy rationing if many had invested in the electricity sector.
My opinion for this situation, the private sector have to invest in the electricity sector. It's very, very important. If we need to close the gap to help our government to produce more electricity, because only the government is not going to have a possibility to build all the dam in Cameroon alone.
Serge Henry also suggests the cost of procuring gas by the electric utility Nous be reduced by the government to permit electricity production in large quantity, which will be supplied uninterrupted to the population.
And the journey to employment for persons with disabilities in Cameroon is marked with several challenges. Cultural beliefs cast a shadow, viewing disabilities as a consequence of past wrongs or errors. Persistent myths around disability, perpetuating the perception that persons living with disabilities are recipients of charity rather than contributors to the society. These problems were raised during the commemoration of the World Day for Persons Living with Disabilities in Bafang and also in the Nous division, all in the West region. Immaculate Fogui reports.
Persons living with disabilities in Fumban, Nous division and Bafang in the Opankam division of the West Region say they are victims of rejection and discrimination. Recounting their ordeals, many shared touching stories of how they almost committed suicide due to depression. Despite their conditions, they have exhibited strong resilience and hope for the future. Life as a disabled person is not easy. Our needs are really not taken into consideration. We find it difficult to get jobs. Accessibility into offices is another major problem. We get frustrated by some persons. Commemorating World Disability Day, they enumerated a number of measures that could be applied by the government in order to ameliorate their living conditions. Commemorating a day like this is not enough. More needs to be done to better living conditions. We struggle so hard, but wish that the government accompanies us.
The government has it is a duty to build in every division a school which can welcome the handicapped.
These persons living with disabilities have been urged not to give up while assuring them of government support.
Of the International Day for Persons with Disabilities, which has as theme a day for all, is the ability to continue working together, encouraging associations of persons living with disabilities to regroup themselves in associations and so as to enable them gain the necessary technical follow-up.
The celebration of World Disability Day was characterized by the issuing of certificates, incentives, and some other materials that will help them go about their daily activities. The day equally served the purpose of exposing hidden talents.
And now in foreign news, the ex-president of Mauritania, Mohamed Ould Abdelaziz, has been sentenced to 5 years in prison. And in the Israel-Hamas conflict, Israel orders for evacuations as it widens offensive, but Palestinians say they do not know where to run to. The roundup of our foreign page with Cedric Chakutu.
5 years in prison for former Mauritanian President Mohamed Ould Abdelaziz. The former head of state in office from 2008 to 2019 had been on trial for 10 months alongside 10 other personalities. Moreover, the Attorney General had requested 20 years in prison a month ago. After 5 days of deliberation, it was in front of a packed room that the court sentenced former president to 5 years in prison. Furthermore, of the 10 charges, only 2 charges, which are illicit enrichment and money laundering, were retained against him. Also, the court requested the seizure of his property and pronounced his civil rights. At the head of the country for 10 years, the former president on trial since January was accused, among other things, of having abused of his power to amass huge sum of money. For now, the collective defense of the former president contests the accusations and sentence. They denounce, among other things, a political slot to remove the former head of state from political life. Elsewhere in the Israel and Hamas conflict, Israel military pushed deeper south in Gaza after it called for more evacuation in the southern portion of the enclave in the chase to wipe out the territories of Hamas. For the moment, the war has already killed more than 15,000 Palestinians and displaced over 3/4 of Gaza's 2.3 million residents who were running out of safe places to go. The United States, Qatar and Egypt, which mediated the early ceasefire, say they are working on a longer truce.
And viewers, that does it for the first part. The news talking point comes up next. Stay with us. Welcome back, viewers. Our guest tonight is Cyril Njomo. He is a civil society activist or actor, and he is also a militant of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement, the CRM political party, and you are based in Boya. Cyril Njomo, thank you so much for accepting to be our guest on Talking Point tonight. Recently, we have noticed very frequent power rationing, not to say power shortage. People are crying foul. They are worried because of the several drawbacks that the power rationing can have on their daily activities. Now, as a civil society actor, how do you view it, analyze this frequent blackout and the effect on the daily activities of commuters.
Hello, Annabelle. For power blackouts in Africa, I think it's a normal situation. But a country that is on an emergency plan since 2013, I think it called for concern. Cameroonians have almost normalized the practice of power outage. Meanwhile, we are 7 years into our development program. And since 2020 that the government launched the Sustainable Development Program 2030, we are 3 years into the new program. Yet, we still don't have a clear path in whether Cameroonians, both household and enterprises, can endure continuous 6 hours of electricity without shortage. Take for instance, this video is being recorded in darkness, practically because there is no light as I am recording this video. So that is the situation we are living. That is the reality, and you must bear with me that it is something we must start looking for alternative. And it's not like alternative don't exist. We shall come back. Now the effects are both personal and collective. At the personal level, we have household where children at school-going age face challenges to revise their notes, and so it might lead to school dropout. It might lead to poor results. You know, we are almost rounding up with the first term evaluation, and most children have actually suffered this period because they did not have light to read. And it's going to shock you that this has been happening years before now, and it's still the same practice. The level of collective enterprises are the highest loser. There are so many businesses that are internet oriented, or should I say, that uses computer nowadays. Without lights, without electricity, you bear with me that none of these companies can actually be functional. So people with documentation, with internet free environment like co-working space for high-tech companies that do into cylindry, into household equipment and furnishing, none of these companies can actually function without electricity. And these are companies that have borrowed money with a timeline to pay. These are household parents that have fixed bill to pay every month. Where do they get the money to pay when the main source of their income is being hampered by improper flow of electricity? We are talking about development and emergency. I don't see it that way, how a country can develop without proper electrification.
And now, Seberun Jomo, the electricity distribution company seems to be doing all it can to provide electricity to Cameroonians, but they complain of a lot of financial blockades, the state owing them lots of money-making functionality, because we also know of dams and also power plants like the Nashtiga, Memvele, and others which have been launched but not completed. Can financial constraints also be a blockade to Eneo?
Finally, when you talk of the various dams that were constructed, the Memvele, the Nashtiga, and you name them, what about their production capacity that were trumpeted here and there, that Cameroon? Remember, we are talking about the early years of the year 2010. So most of these projects were launched before the 2011 presidential election, where they were announcing major industrialization of Cameroon. But we are almost 14 years down there and nothing is being shown. The government last week or last 2 weeks was launching the rural electrification program that we're focusing on 6 regions, mostly the restive region of Northwest and Southwest, together with East Adamawa, North and Far North, trying to tell us how they were to harness local materials like the dams into all this region to supply electricity to household and to help limit the level of insecurity, as it is believed that when streets do not have street lights, maybe the rate of urban crime wave increases. So the government was saying to harness some of these dams in the east, in the Adamawa, in the far north, to see how they can supply electricity. But now, it's a government that is already financially stifled with Globelec, as I told you, and so its potential to actually realize some of these projects they are talking is practically impossible as of now, until they settle some of those debts. Then aside that, these dams, unfortunately, like most of the other projects we see nationwide, hasn't actually been put to use yet. Every day they come out and inform us that they need this amount of money. It will interest your viewers to know that the Minister of Energy, of Water and Energy, actually backs, I think, the second or the third most funded ministry. The financial budget for this year for that ministry is, I think, 319 billion. That is the second after the Ministry of Defense. So it is believed that this money is, that is what has been happening at least for the past 5 years, that this budgetary program has been going on. But every year they will use the money almost for the same project: rehabilitation, the purchase of plants. Today we are talking about the Caribbean plants. It's the same ministry that actually helped to sponsor part of the project. So Mr. Gaston Elundu have his rural electrification project that he has launched and needs a lot of money to curtail the power shortage, and we are on the verge of entering another promise that this money that has now been backed by our parliamentarian in the National Assembly will put an end to the incessant power shortage or rationing that we are living. So we are moving towards another slogan. Before not too far from now, you will definitely have them come out to justify, just like the Minister of Communication did in March 2022, calling Cameroonians to see the effort and the determination that the government is putting in to put an end to power shortage. Just after that, if they don't deal or do at least what Globelec actually said, they said they want to even see a monetization plan, that the government needs to set up a structure that for their own personal infrastructure, like government-owned offices, enterprises, if they don't show example by paying their bills, what do you think of who do you think is going to follow up the bills? But if you ask them, they are going to go and be pinpointing issues of global change, water shortage, extend like the rainy season extended into the dry season. So all of those stories will be coming up just to confuse the head of the layman in a way that he or she might finally just give up and sit and hope, just like we have been hoping for almost long now.
Siron Jomo, thank you so much for accepting to be our guest and talking point tonight. We won't be able to go through with our conversation or interview because of time constraint. Hope to have you some other time. Viewers, thank you so much for always being there. Don't go away. Our programs continue. Equinoxe in about 30 minutes with Search Alengo 2 and the news in the French language at 8 p.m. Stay with us on Equinoxe Television. Bye-bye for now.